how many times must I tell you? You must never put your life on the line for me.
Mother has always had a fascination for Lord Mortimer, but has never wanted to tell me why.
We are doing our utmost to find your mother as quickly as possible.
Without your mother, hundreds of men of the cloth would have gone to the guillotine.
All I can tell you is I'm looking for my sister.
Do you believe your mother capable of torturing a child?
An agreement for cannons. Lord Mortimer assured me that you are to take over the project on behalf of your mother.
Johann Christoph von Wollner, Minister of Religious Affairs, and Jacques Peroux, French Revolutionary Tribunal Judge. You will find that Lord Mortimer is not what one would call conventional, Monsieur de Richet. Monsieur de Richet, I am arresting you for the murder of Elizabeth Adams.
Is there nothing you want to say, Louis?
It wasn't me. I didn't kill her.
I'd much rather have met you under different circumstances.
Lord Mortimer, believe me, I'm very conscious of the gravity of the situation. Everything seems to point to me as the one who killed Elizabeth, but I swear I am innocent.
Out of respect for your mother, rest assured that I do want to believe you.
And all I want is to be able to prove it to you. When do we start?
We already have. Tell me, Louis, how do you feel?
I feel like a rat trapped in a maze.
Interesting.
I beg your pardon?
Sarah also felt like she was trapped like an animal.
Where are you going with this, my lord?
Sarah's behavior grew odd before her disappearance. Her attitude changed. She became prey to outbursts of violence and a number of temporary absences. I'm just trying to make sure that you don't go getting lost like your mother did.
You're not suggesting that I might have killed Elizabeth and that I don't remember, are you?
I don't know, Louis. It's just that what with your mother and now you, it's rather a lot. The more I take stock of the situation, the more I'm under the impression that you've been set up. But before going any further, I must inform you that Sir Gregory is about to arrive. He is coming to question you about the murder of poor Elizabeth, whom he was very fond of. He is quite determined to find the culprit, whomever they may be. So, convince him of your innocence. Then we can continue this conversation.
William, I would like to see you a moment before we begin. In private.
Let's step outside a moment. Louis, this will only take a few moments.
Take this chance to look around.
Please, sit back down, Louis.
This sort of behavior is not working in your favor, young man. Monsieur de Richet, you were found standing over Miss Adams' body. We must shed some light on your responsibility in this tragedy. We shall then decide on your fate. But you must know that if you do not convince us of your innocence, it will cost you dearly. Now you are going to tell us everything that happened last night, without leaving any detail out. First things first, how did your evening begin?
I was in the corridor and I was about to go to bed. Elizabeth appeared as if from nowhere and rushed toward me. She took me by the arm and led me to her room.
You say she led you? All right, we'll accept that. Continue.
We were heading for our rooms when Elizabeth burst into the corridor, barely dressed. She was panic-stricken and insisted on speaking to me. So I found myself in Elizabeth's room. We sat down together. She insisted we have a drink or she would refuse to confide in me.
What exactly did she want to speak about at such a late hour?
She was distressed. She just found out that I was Sarah de Richet's son and sort of insisted on telling me about the horrors my mother made her suffer. She was convinced she was going to die.
It turns out she wasn't wrong. And what happened next?
Then she told me she had poured laudanum in my glass. The next minute I was on the floor. When I woke up, she was lying in a pool of blood.
That is all you had to say? You expect us to believe that you have no idea what happened to her?
Yes, because I'm telling you the truth.
How can you possibly expect us to believe you?
Gregory, we must consider every possibility. Louis, do you have any idea who could have done it?
Look, frankly, it's beyond me. I just don't know.
Monsieur de Richet, don't you think it would be in your interest to help us find another suspect?
Well, even if I can't believe for a single instant that my mother could have murdered someone in that manner, she might have wanted to stop Elizabeth from speaking about their mutual past. And things might have turned nasty.
It is indeed a possibility.
I would like to thank you for helping us shed light on what happened last night. To be honest, you are not the only suspect. I'm prepared to believe you were drugged. Our poor Elizabeth hid the stuff everywhere, and I could smell laudanum on you 3 yards away.
So you knew it wasn't me from the start?
We weren't sure. Louis, I am sorry, but everything points in the same direction. I only know one person on this island who might have had a big enough grudge against Elizabeth, who has no alibi, and whose behavior is, well, suspect. Not to mention dangerous.
Tell me what happened before my arrival. I think I've been patient enough.
You don't need us for any of this. So come along, Monsieur Peru. We are leaving.
Right. It's time we spoke about your mother, Louis.
She isn't missing, you know.
What? What do you mean?
My mother has left traces in every nook and cranny of your island, my lord. She's definitely here. Now, what worries me most is why she doesn't show herself.
That doesn't make me feel any better, Louis.
What was the official reason why my mother came to your island?
I knew about your mother's activities, and yours, in the Golden Order. I thought we had everything to gain by working together.
You mean the canon deal with Monsieur Bonaparte?
Among others, yes. How did you hear about that?
Monsieur Bonaparte came to speak to me about it yesterday, during lunch.
I see. So impetuous. He was supposed to let me speak to you about it first. Our friend Napoleon desperately needed financial backing to properly equip his army. I took it upon myself to back him because I have a firm conviction that he can go far.
We shall see. However, there's one thing that surprises me. Did my mother intend to finance a war? I'm not sure that I follow.
No, your mother's aim was not so much to partake in a war, but rather to make Monsieur Bonaparte accountable. France is in turmoil, and having the support of a military man can often come in handy, Louis. You'll see. Once this deal was closed, I had big plans for Sarah.
Such as what?
You see, I've invited several influential figures on my island to present them with a project at the conference. It will be presented later today. I thought that the Golden Order had a role to play, and I still think so. I was hoping Sarah would be able to join us.
I see.
Indeed, if by chance your mother decided not to return to us before the conference, would you do me the great honor of attending? If only to follow the deliberations while waiting for her to duly take her seat.
Why not? We shall see.
Thank you so much. In this way, you'll be able to keep your mother informed of what he said. There's something else I'd like to briefly go over. Earlier, you asked me the official reason for your mother's presence here. Is there an off-the-record reason why your mother came here?
If only my mother had trusted me, but she remained very mysterious. I'd have been delighted to answer your question.
Is this usual for her?
As head of the Order, secrets are her bread and butter, as you can imagine. That said, it's the first time she hasn't let me in on the reason for her trip. And it intrigues me, to tell you the truth.
Well, I'm sure that Sarah will explain everything once she reappears. There's something I still don't get. In your opinion, why would your mother remain in hiding over several weeks?
Maybe she found something out.
What do you mean?
My mother has a gift for investigating. If she had picked up a lead, nothing would have stopped her.
The only thing I can tell you is that Sarah had indeed changed. At the beginning of her stay here, we enjoyed spending time together, solving the world's problems.
You seem to know my mother very well, my lord. What did you talk about together?
Oh, as soon as we had a little free time, we liked to share points of view about practically any subject. We would find ourselves embarked on interminable discussions that could go from Monsieur Blanchard's flight in a hot air balloon to the Treaty of Jassy, or the adoption of the metric system in France last year, or even Mr. Eli Whitney's invention in the United States.
Ah, yes. His famous cotton gin. It was supposed to revolutionize cotton production in the United States.
It will revolutionize the world, Louis. The potential of this invention is much greater. Tomorrow, all industries will be switching to simple but large-scale production. Of that, I'm sure.
I'm surprised she didn't get you started on the Crusades. It was her favorite subject.
Are you joking? Sarah and I spent entire days together reliving them. It so happens that the Crusades are also my subject of predilection, especially the third. My ancestor distinguished himself brilliantly during the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Mother lulled my childhood with tales of the Crusades. How Richard the Lionheart and Philip Augustus had to battle it out to achieve their ends. And how Guy de Lusignan, having broken his word, launched the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Oh, I see Sarah's lessons have inspired new enthusiasts. Good on you, because not everyone can claim they know as much at your age. Your mother is a very well-read woman. You're quite lucky to have her as a model, Louis.
Yes, I know, but I'm still very worried.
I must admit, there are worse things to worry about now, Louis.
What do you mean?
Since she disappeared, your mother has been seen once. Her behavior on the evening of your arrival greatly surprised Gregory and myself. She resurfaced to attack Emma, Emily Hillsborough's twin sister. And she shot her with a pistol. Then, before Gregory could intervene, she ran off and disappeared again.
I beg your pardon? Hang on. Emily has a twin sister who knew my mother? What's she playing at, goddammit? That means my vision on the wharf, it was actually happening inside the manor. Mother shot Emily's sister? The very person she came looking for? Why would she do that? Excuse me, but between that and the childhood of Lady Adams, it's all a bit much for me to cope with. I need to piece it all together again to see things more clearly. You said that you spent a lot of time talking together at the beginning. What happened for that to change?
I'm afraid I haven't much to tell you. The more the days went by, the more she withdrew into herself. She never gave me an explanation, until the day came when she purely and simply disappeared.
Where did she go when she wanted to be alone?
She would shut herself away in a room we use as a box room upstairs.
Would you allow me to go there?
Naturally, Louis, of course. I'll send you a servant to open it.
Thank you.
One last thing, although I don't know if there is a connection.
I'm listening.
A gate was forced the other night near the wharf. Nothing serious, just a few small things damaged.
Sorry, my lord, but I was searching for leads to my mother. I thought I was hot on her trail and didn't take any precautions.
Well, you could have reported it to a servant. But never mind. I shall put it down to your ardor and anxiety. However, please try to respect my estate in future.
I certainly will. Please accept my sincerest apologies.
That's all I can tell you about the disappearance of your mother, Louis. I would like to have been more helpful.
I shall stay on her trail and follow up any leads.
Thank you. We will meet later on to welcome our last guest. In the meantime, I shall get someone to open the box room upstairs for you.
Thank you. The room was just opposite Mortimer's study. Monsieur Jacques Perru? Monsieur Napoleon Bonaparte. A ruble. Duchess Emily Hillsborough. Duke Manuel Godoy. Huh, that's me. President George Washington. Hey, a Russian ruble. I wonder what it'd be worth today. There are burnt papers in the chimney. There's a legible fragment left. Hey, I recognize my mother's handwriting. She says, we must find a safer way to communicate. Someone is onto us. Trust in my faith in the man with the sword. So Mother had an accomplice here. Who could it be? Who could she be suspicious of? I must find the next part. Faith, sword. I recognize her love of riddles there.
Dante's Paradise. Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays.
Carmelite water will give me a little reprieve. What is this disc? Oh, that reminds me of the ones my mother collects. It's magnetic. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. A fierce opponent of the first Christians, St. Paul is suddenly struck by the call of Jesus Christ and converts. It's the best known conversion in Christian history, which teaches us that even enemies of Christ can be saved, and even become his greatest apostles after finding faith. From what I can recall, the account of his conversion could be found in the epistles to the Galatians, the Philippians, the Corinthians, and the Acts of the Apostles. Caravaggio attained a magnificent command of black and the play of colors too. Paul facing an ordeal, the curtains of his illusions being raised, and receives the light from his Savior. The door appears to be locked on the other side. I think I heard something fall to the ground. A metallic sound, like a key falling to the floor. I'll see if it works. It's open.
A chest with the occult symbol representing air. A chest with the occult symbol representing air.
A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. The New Testament. This book is incredibly precious. I believe this is the book my mother referred to when calling upon the Lord. This volume dates from the first edition of Gutenberg. It's the first book that was ever printed. The pages are covered in annotations in Latin, French, and Hebrew. Someone spent years studying this Bible. A volume of the Gutenberg Bible. And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in Jordan. And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in Jordan. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet. And as they did eat, Jesus took bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them and said, Take, eat, this is my body. Then came together unto him the Pharisees, and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. I guess I'll just come back later. It's St. John, painted by Guido Reni. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the apostles by Guido Reni. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. Of the 4 apostles shown in this piece, Paul is the only one who isn't an evangelist. He is the 13th apostle. I guess I'll just come back later. The drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. St. John, painted by Guido Reni. St. John is known as the youngest of Christ's apostles, while we often give credit to St. John for having written about the apocalypse in the last book of the Bible. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the apostles by Guido Reni. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange, there's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. I don't know, what does that mean? I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. But wait, a note from Mother is carefully folded between the pages here. What does it say? Dear E, I'm glad you found this note. I was afraid the code of the two groups of pilgrims would mislead you. Pick up the package. You know where, and hide it where no one will find it. It's imperative. Awaiting your reply, hidden behind the youngest apostle. What? The youngest apostle? What does Mother mean by that? St. John is the only apostle painted in this gallery who hasn't got a beard. Hey, wait! That means it's him. He's the youngest apostle. Right. This painting is therefore associated with the answer which E had to give to my mother. Now, I just need to know how to recover the answer. The painting looks like it's been taken down recently. But wasn't my mother said that she would wait for an answer hidden behind the apostle? Ah, of course. There's something written behind the painting. On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add one companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? They should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies? Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. Looks like someone touched this commode recently. Their fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. A fragment of amber. On the second day, the pilgrims listened to the prophecy of the young apostle. The prophecy of the young apostle, that was John. And the prophecy mentioned is most likely the book of Revelations according to St. John. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. I guess I'll just come back later. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin.
If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. They should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies? There is none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after God. I guess I'll just come back later. Hereby know that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. They should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies? On the second day, the pilgrims listened to the prophecy of the young apostle. The prophecy of the young apostle, that was John. And the prophecy mentioned is most likely the book of Revelations according to St. John. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. And a voice came out of the throne, saying, Praise our God, all ye his servants, and ye that fear him, both small and great. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew. Choosing the Hebrew alphabet is no coincidence. It's got to be a reference to the Bible. There's nothing worth noticing here. There are finger marks, deliberately drawn in the dust. 8 in all. No, nothing of value here. It's too cumbersome for me to unhook here, but judging by the dust, it hasn't been moved for months, if not years. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean? And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and a half a time, from the face of the serpent. Hey, a new note. It's been folded carefully in the corner of this page. The writing, it's not my mother's. S. I found the book in your effects. I've concealed it where no one can get their hands on it. I can assure you, awaiting your instructions, I will hear your reply like he who hears the angel. Hears the angel? What does that mean? Oh, it's probably the place where she was expecting to get the location of the next note. There's nothing worth noticing here. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the Apostles by Guido Reni. A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean? Now, therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law with one another. Why do ye not rather suffer injustice? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Ah, look, here's a message. It is of paramount importance that no one finds it. Watch out for the Prussian. He's on the trail. Let's meet up. I'll leave it to you to organize the rendezvous. Not today. I'm unable to do it. In the meantime, I'll follow the first group to Mark, who will reveal the answer to them.
And that first group of pilgrims, how many are there now? If I refer to the chapter I'm reading at the moment, 6.
Too cumbersome for me to unhook here, but judging by the dust, it hasn't been moved for months, if not years. No, nothing of value here. There are finger marks, deliberately drawn in the dust. 8 in all. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew. Choosing the Hebrew alphabet is no coincidence. It's got to be a reference to the Bible. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. It looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. Then came together unto him the Pharisees, and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. But though we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. How shall not the ministration of the Spirit not be more glorious? But that which beareth thorns and briars is rejected, and is nigh unto cursing, whose end is to be burned. Here's a message. There are some complications. Indeed, the Prussian is insistent. What's happening at your end? Do you need help? If tonight is not possible, let's say tomorrow evening, in the South Room, where we reviewed the situation. When Paul understood that only the axe counted, he went back on his tracks. I await your confirmation to his left, in the company of the pilgrims that have joined him. Yeah, this last comment is about their code. I should find new pilgrims near Paul. Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. Looks like someone touched this commode recently. Their fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. So we have the figure 11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with the figure, maybe? St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance. Hey, there's a note here. A message from Mother in reply to E. We must leave urgently, but first I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare. Watch out for Volner. He figured out I was avoiding him. Allay suspicion. See you tomorrow evening. Stand ready. For now, let's cease all communication until we meet. Take care of yourself. I suppose this must be the last message. What happened afterward? If it's what I suspect, I fear the worst. What did Mother mean by, I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare? I must go beyond the nightmare. What does she mean by that? I'm guessing it's a metaphor. I need to figure out what this means. Mortimer's getting his guests together. I ought to join them so I don't look suspicious.